Hello and welcome to Unit 5. Today we are looking at Lesson 5.02. We just talked about our artist intro and we looked at a few different things. We're being inspired by artist James DeRosso, and you can see some of his examples there on the screen. We are going to be creating a monster sculptures, and today our goal is to plan and sketch what we want those to look like. Now, I hope you've done some brainstorming as to characteristics of monsters. I have some that we'll talk about here as we go through our sketching process today. And then the other thing that is required for this particular project is there are a few construction methods that we must absolutely use. So we'll talk about that here too as we get started with our ideas. So we're going to do some brainstorming. We're going to sketch out a monster or two to choose from, and we're going to talk about those construction techniques, and then we'll put that in our sketchbook. That's kind of our goal here, our progress sketchbook for today. So the construction methods that we need to use that are required for this project, one, we have to include a pinch pot in some way into our sculpture. We have to use a slab, which is simply a flat piece of clay that we've rolled out and maybe cut into a shape, and we need to put that on our sculpture. We need to use coils. Coils are just clay that's rolled out into a snake-like form. You can twist, you can spiral them, you can cut them, you can fold them, lots of different things you can do with coils. But essentially, it's a rolled snake or rolled piece of clay. And then you also need to do some modeling of some kind. And that's just essentially shaping the clay with your fingers and your hands. You can use some tools to help guide that, but you're just going to shape the clay very organically. Okay, so we'll talk about a little bit of that as we get through this part of the planning stage and sketching part of our project. So let's go ahead and switch over to my camera. And you can see there's some of the materials that I'm going to use, and here is my sketchbook. So one of the things that I suggest in one of the corners of your sketchbook is to start by thinking about characteristics of a monster. So maybe you want your monster to have big eyes. So just write that down. Maybe you want your monster to have a horn or a tail. And maybe, claws, maybe bumps. Okay, whatever those characteristics are, kind of give yourself kind of a list. Maybe you want your monster to have a hat. Okay, so those are just some things. And then I'm going to also write here, we need to have a slab, we need to have a coil, we need to do some kind of pinch, and we need to do some kind of modeling, okay, on our project. So I have those techniques listed there as well. From there, we're going to start doing some sketches. What do we want our monster to look like? So maybe you're going to start out with your monster and you're going to do some modeling. You're just going to grab the clay and you're going to kind of create a shape. So what kind of shape do you want the body of your monster to be? So maybe something like this, but you don't want it to sit. That's kind of boring. So maybe you're going to put him up on some kind of legs. Okay, that'll be separate, but attached there to the sculpture. So this essentially, both of these parts are some clay modeling that we're going to do there. Okay, and then maybe some eyes. We want to do something. I said about big eyes over here, so maybe I'll come in and maybe I'll do like some small pinch pots. Okay, so this is going to represent my pinch pot kind of attached there. Maybe I'll do, two of those. They have like an edge or a lip around them, and they're like three-dimensional. So something like that. And so those are going to be my pinch part. They look kind of hollow, so maybe I'll do some like I'll put roll a ball of clay and stick that ball of clay in there. So the eyes there are going to be modeling. I'm just forming that, with my hands. So I've got some pinch pots, I've got some modeling happening. Okay, I need to get a slab in here somehow. So like a flat piece of clay. This guy, maybe he needs like a mohawk. So like let's put in some kind of flat. That'll be the flat edge, and it's three-dimensional. So maybe it goes something like that. So there's going to be my slab, my flat piece of clay, and he's got like a mohawk hanging out on the top of his head. kind of like that. Okay. This is looking good. So we need to think about, we also need a coil. We also need some features of his face. So I don't know. I think a coil, big fat round coil here might be really good um, for like start of his mouth or upper lip. And then, we didn't put over here in characteristics, but teeth are a good one too. So maybe he's got like an overbite here, and we're going to give him some real chunky. I think those are going to be slabs too, flat like rectangles. So I'm going to say that's going to be a slab. This is going to be my coil. And look, using the things that I've talked about, I have a pretty cool looking monster to get started. So that's one way or one avenue you can kind of go through and start thinking about. Let's try to think a completely different way. Let's come up with another idea for this project. Let's think about our methods, and I used pinch pots there. They're small pinch pots. Let's focus on the pinch pot, and let's do like the body of the sculpture. Let's see what happens if we plan something and experiment with an idea of that. So let's say we're going to do a round pinch pot that would have a lip around the edge of it. So something like this to represent my pinch pot. It's going to go back into space because it's a three-dimensional pot. So it's kind of the length or the width. Remember, these are 3D sculptures, so that's 3D there. Um, I could put a mohawk on him again with a slab, but I kind of did that over here. So what other things could I do here? Let's um, okay, coil. Let's add. We're going to do like a big fat coil that will make it a little skinnier on the back end here, and we're going to like, let's make him have a tail. So this is going to be a coil, and I've got my pinch pot. All right, what else can I do? Eyeballs are so important. They give our monster a lot. They communicate a lot. So let's do some flat slabs here. I'll just cut out a couple of round flat circles for the eyes there. So those are just going to be a little slab piece. Try to make them so you can see that they'll be 3D there. So I've got some slabs, and we'll do some modeling. So we'll put some circles again in for the eyes. I could carve that out as well. We could remove that to create those, but I need modeling as a thing. So we'll just say those are modeled. Okay, now like this is looking good, but I think teeth are also important. They help communicate a lot. So what if I came in and I did these could be slabs, these could be modeled little triangle or cone pieces for some teeth. You could do like a tongue hanging out of your monster, which would be kind of cool. The tongue could be a slab, lots of things. So let's see here. I've got coil, slab, modeling, pinch. I've got all the things. I think these teeth would probably be a good slab construction thing. So I'll just put slab on that. Um, I could sculpt something cute in the back here, inside there. That's cool. I think he needs something more though. Like maybe put some bumps. Maybe I'll just roll some little bumps and attach them to his body, kind of like scales or something. And so we're going to do some modeling for those bumps. All right. So I have come up with a couple of sketches, a couple of ideas. That's the goal for today. I really want you to think about what kind of emotion how do you want your monster to feel? Think about those characteristics of a monster. Think about the construction techniques and come up with a couple of sketches and ideas and see what you come up with there. When you're all done with this step of the project, please make sure you take a really good quality photo of your sketch and your drawing and submit that photograph to your progress sketchbook. If you have any concerns or questions about this step of the project, please reach out and let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the process.